Hi everybody, and welcome to another video. This video is titled Fun with Squid. So the other day I received a email or a message from one of my subscribers, Ida, and she had a question, or more of a comment, and it kind of inspired me to create this video. April Fool's is coming up, and this sounds like a really fun thing to do. I already have a bit of plans to do this myself, and so Ida sent me a message saying, "Hi, I was watching your video about configuring Squid over a virtual machine. I'm trying to use Squid and a virtual machine to turn the images in a web page upside down. There's lots of explanations, but I cannot make it work on my system." She's using Windows 8 and VirtualBox, using Ubuntu 14 on VirtualBox. Thanks a lot for your time, and thanks for explaining the Squid config file. So first off, you're welcome. I'm glad you learned something from that video and were able to extract some information about the Squid config file from the video. So in this case, we're going to be talking about some April Fool's pranks with Squid, I should say, and we're going to be looking at flipped images, aka the upside down internet. So a couple disclaimers I want to get out there before we go too far into this. First thing, I did not create these scripts. As much as I wish this was my joke and it was my idea, sadly it's not, but it doesn't mean we can't have some fun with it. So I also make no claim to have created the aforementioned script, just to be clear with that. However, I'm still going to explain this script to you. My goal is still for you to learn something and laugh. And sometimes dogs are brown. And what type of peanut butter would you like? Crunchy, creamy, or natural? So the foundation of this, I'm going to be building off of a working Squid installation as outlined in my previous video detailing how to configure and set up Squid in a VM. So if you haven't watched that video, you can do so here. So hopefully the video link should pop up there. If it doesn't, well, look through my videos, but if I'm not failing, it's right here. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we need to update a couple things in the Squid config file. So in the previous video I created, I had Squid configured as a standard proxy. In this case, to make this work right, we're going to be blind sending the requests over to the Squid proxy server, meaning the host that's going through that Squid proxy server may not be aware they're set up that way. You don't want to have to configure, say the person you wish to play this prank on, their web browser, that would be a little bit, give the joke away, right? So they're looking at you configuring the computer. It should all of a sudden just happen when they log on to the internet. So with that being said, what we're going to do is, this is on my Squid server right here. So we're going to type in VI for the image editor, and we're going to open up the Squid configuration file, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. The first thing we need to do is find the spot where we configured the HTTP port, and we want to add on transparent. This has already been done on this machine I have set up, but we would add on transparent. The next thing we need to do is add on the fact that it's going to use a script to rewrite the URL or the information that's passed on to the person's web browser or client. So we have to scroll down for a while, and eventually we will come to the URL rewrite section. I think I just passed it. Nope, core dump. There we go. So we want to add on the URL rewrite, and you'll see it here, tag URL rewrite program, right? So what it does is it specifies the location of executable URL rewriter to use. It can perform almost any function for one that there isn't something already included in Squid 4. So we're going to basically run a Perl script called forlaughs.pl. Hey, it's April Fool's, we got to call it that, right? So we'll close out of that. You would obviously save the commands. So the next thing we need to do is we would need to install the Apache web server. using this command. Sudo is essentially run as admin. apt-get is the package management program in Ubuntu, and install space Apache 2. By the way, I forgot to mention I am using Ubuntu 12.04 LTS, not 14, but it should be very, very similar. So the next thing we need to do is we're going to need to make some folders. The reason we're installing this Apache web server is essentially what we're going to do is download the images using, with a script, and we are going to then have the script file run and modify that image, and then use the Apache web server to serve it back to your person who's connecting to the proxy server in a way that we'll have the images altered or modified. So we need to install a web server for this to work. So what we need to do next is make some folders for the images to be stored in and set permissions. So we're going to make a folder called www images, or web images for the Apache server to use. We're going to change ownership for www data and set all ownership to www data for that image folder. We want the we want the web data user, which is what Apache is going to be using to be able to modify those images. We want to set some permissions using the chmod command, or change mod command. And what this is, we're at 775. It's a binary flag. The first binary flag is for user, the second is for group, and the last item is for all. So we're allowing basically, there's read, write, and execute flags, and it's a binary thing for each individual user. So we're going to set it to 755 for that images folder. And we're going to add groups data proxy. So the proxy is the username that the Squid server runs under, or the Squid daemon runs under, the proxy username. So we're linking them together. And after we make those changes, we restart Apache. So here's the script. I'm going to try to paste this into the comments of the video, so you hopefully should have it. However, if you don't, if it doesn't come through properly, I apologize. I'll try to get a link or something in there so it's easy for you to paste in. So one of the reasons I like to use PuTTY for a client, or a SSH client, is that it allows you to right click and paste text into a file, say you're editing, or basically paste commands directly into that access window, client access window. And you would essentially copy all of this, and then basically you would say you're using vi, right, to edit the file. 4 laughs, right? So you basically set it to edit mode, and then you would simply paste it in and save the file. It saves a whole bunch of typing. It also makes sure you don't make any typos or mistakes when you're entering this in, or the script in. So that being said, so essentially you would move or paste that data in, type it in if you have to, I guess, but be very careful, of course, to get everything correct. And then you'd save the file. So wrapping it up, what we want to do is again set some permissions on that file we just created. We want to install the image manipulation tools called ImageMagick. So apt-get install ImageMagick. And the final thing we want to do, since this proxy server is going to essentially be downloading files and manipulating images, and then reserving them back to the clients that are connecting, over time those images could of course build up and take up all your disk space. So what we finally want to do is we want to create a cron tab job, or a cron job, that will delete those pictures every so often. This is a item to do it every 10 minutes. And essentially will delete all those files, so that way your disk doesn't fill up. So once that's done, we have everything configured on the Linux side for making sure the proxy server runs. So at that point, if you edited your configuration for, say, Firefox or Chrome or whatever browser you're using and enter this in, it will flip the images. Okay, so let's kind of give you an example of that right now. Let me pull up my handy dandy Firefox, if I can get it opened up here. So we'll go to Tools, right? Options. We'll add some settings in. We're going to say Manual Proxy because that points to that server. And let's go to, I don't know, water.com, right? And if you look, everything is upside down. The cups are upside down. The logos for the companies are upside down. Everything's upside down. So let's see. So all those things are upside down, right? You could order now. Look at that. That's upside down, So pretty much everything is upside down. Let's see. So as you can see, that's working. So we'll go back to Tools, Options, Settings, and we'll tell it back to No Proxy. And we're just going to clear all the stuff. And then let's refresh this page. And hey, look, all the pictures are up right now. Because, because everything is not being ran through that proxy server. So it's working as is. But the thing is, I had to go in and make changes to my configuration to have that work, right? If you want to play a joke on somebody, you want to say, "Hey, give me your iPad," and then they give it to you, and you give it back to them, and then the images are flipped upside down. They're obviously going to be on to you did something and know, that you did something to the configuration, and to cause that. So they're not really going to, it's not as good of a joke. So the next thing we want to do is we want to set it up so that you don't need to configure each individual program that is on that person's computer to go through this proxy server for web access. So the next thing we need to do is under router, and so this is assuming you're using Edge router. There's other ways to do this for different routers and whatnot. I'm going to assume you're using an Edge router. So we want to set up NAT to force port 80 traffic essentially to the proxy server, to that Squid server. This is going to redirect traffic without entering proxy settings into applications. So in this case, you would log in to the Edge router, right? And you would add in some service rules for NAT. Essentially, it's going to be a destination service rule. So here's the commands to do that. You're in a configuration mode. You set service NAT, the rule number. I give a description. Essentially, just tell what it is. This is just an arbitrary for human reading. So if you look at the list of rules, it tells you, in a meaningful way what the rule is. So basically, what's saying is anytime we get a request on port 80 from the interface Ethernet 0, which is my LAN interface, we want to forward that packet to 192.168.1.22, or in other words, the Squid server's IP address. We want to make sure that we send it to port 8080, which is what we're configured for in that Squid config file. So when we get a request on port 80, we send it to this address on port 8080. I don't want to log every packet we send through there. There's no need to do that. This is a joke thing, and there's just no need for all that logging. Web protocol is over TCP. It is not UDP. It's a TCP packet. And what I also want to do is set the address range, right? So this is my DHCP scope range. So anything in here gets assigned my DHCP. So people's phones, their tablets, computers, laptops, etc. all get IP addresses within this range. Other devices, outside of that, between 1 and 25, are all network hardware, servers, etc. Like for example, this case, .22, right? And it is a destination type route. You commit the command to or the configuration changes to make them effective, and then I save them. So in this case, I have those rules pretty much already set up. We need to do one thing though, because right now, obviously, as I went through the rules, right, it did not, obviously the pages weren't upside down just by default, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure I enable that rule. I have that rule disabled, so it wasn't in effect. I'm going to enable the rule. So I need to set service net. It's going to be rule. In my case, I used rule 1. So I want to delete disabling of the rule, and let's commit that change. So we'll get the rule enabled on this my router now. It's still processing the change. Wait for it to go through. There we go. It's live. So now if I pull up this here, I'm going to say history. We're going to clear the history. That way it gets all the web caching and everything gone. And reset the page. And hey, look, everything is upside down. If you go to Tools, Options, and Settings, you'll see I do not have the proxy turned on. What's happening is my NAT rules are automatically forwarding all packets on port 80 from every device on my network now, pretty much every client device on my network, through that proxy server. And what's happening is now it's going to force and flip those images. This way, when somebody comes in and they connect, everything's just upside down automatically. It doesn't require any special configuration on that particular PC to make this joke work, right? So I want to disable that rule. Bear with me a second. So I'm re-enabling the rule disable. Reason I'm doing that is I don't want to do this yet. I'm waiting for April Fools to come around, and then I'll turn this on. There'll be some laughs. So that's basically all I gotta do is come in, flip the rule on, and we're good. So save my configuration, and I am good. So now again, if I clear this out, clear the history, refresh the page, everything will be back to normal. And there we go. So hey, not everything's back to normal. These are still upside down. What's going on? Let's give it a go again. Maybe it just took a second. There we go. Everything is back to normal now. So that's how you would set up the NAT configuration through the command line. Also, if you want to do it the easy way and you have an edge router, you can go to firewall in the GUI. Go to firewall NAT, add it's a destination rule, not a source rule. And then this is how you configure it. Ethernet 0, the interface, that is the interface of your LAN side. And then it's the address of the server you want to send it to, the port in the server you want to send it to, the source addresses, meaning the ranges of the computers in your network, and the port that they're trying to send to. So we got to see the result already. I kind of jumped ahead of that with the with the pages flipping upside down, or the images flipping upside down. And the other things you can do. So obviously, since this uses Mogrify, you can easily edit the script to do other things, such as flipping images horizontally, right? You could do that if you wish to. You could, because keep in mind it's an image editor, so it can do a whole bunch of stuff. Flipping them horizontally will make things like text appear backwards, essentially, like written backwards. You can make images black and white, so you can turn the whole internet black and white, or grayscale. You can blur images to make them heavily compressed, i.e. you can give everybody Graham's glasses, etc. You could, even do something simple like, excuse me, you can even do something simple like replacing text, so you can change one word to another word. You get the idea. Essentially, since all the data is going through the proxy server in the script, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with it. I didn't go through the script, which I'll kind of touch on base here in a little bit. So what it's doing, essentially, here's the meat and potatoes of it. It downloads the pictures, uses Mogrify, and this is where you get the command to flip the image right here, outputs the image, and then uses the local server to refeed that back, and does it for GIFs, JPEGs, and here you can see they're searching using something called regular expressions or regex. I'm not going to go into that, but oops. But you get the idea. So I hope you found this video entertaining, and you get to use on April Fools, and I hope it helps Ada with her setup of the Squid proxy server to flip things upside down. It's a great joke, and thanks for everybody for watching. Have a great day.